So, welcome back. I'm Susan.
And I'm Wilfrid.
And this is probably going to be the last of our videos in the series of great questions asked by new book collectors, as you have seen that's the titling. And I thought this time we might address the question of how do I learn more about books and what do I do next?
Well, some people spend our whole lives learning, but one good way to do it these days is, well, perhaps not these days because bookshops are generally closed and there are no book fairs, but if you can go to a book fair or a bookshop and handle the books, that's the key way to learn. Talk to the proprietor, ask questions. People think, I'm embarrassed to ask this question. Well, no such thing as an embarrassing question.
As we've shown you so far in these videos.
Yeah. I think the proprietor, the dealer, would be only too glad to point out certain things about the book, certain aspects, things which you might miss just by looking at them face on.
Yeah, and we all do what we do because we love doing it. And we love talking about it, and we love handling things, as you can tell.
We talk a lot about it.
And do remember, even in the days of COVID, there are open bookshops. Call your local favorite and see if they're open and drop by.
Yes.
But book fairs, I have to say, once they reopen, are exceptionally good places to learn about books because you will have 50, 60, 100, in the case of the California book fairs, 200 and something booksellers, all with different tastes, all with different books, all with different bits of knowledge because this is his period, this is my period, this is her specialty. You can really learn a lot just by wandering around a book fair, and they are great fun.
At the risk of repeating what we might have said before, when you go to a bookshop or especially at a book fair, people often ask us, "Can I take this down?" And of course, we just love it when people actually ask to see the book or take it off the shelf. But they're so timid about it sometimes. We try to dissuade any of that timidity. We just want them to feel relaxed. They can just take a book off the shelf.
And of course, now you know how to take a book off the shelf because you've watched the video on how to take a book off the shelf.
And more importantly, how not to take a book off a shelf.
There you go. It is really important to look at things and handle things. And if you are nervous handling a book yourself, ask the dealer to take it down for you. Ask him to show it to you. He will do it, or she will do it. Even if it's a thing wildly outside of your budget, but something you've always been curious about and never thought you'd see. It's an experiential museum where you can actually take a few things home with you.
Right. I'm just thinking that you can go to a book fair and handle and pick up and open and look at a first edition of a famous book, Darwin's Origin of the Species.
The Principia by
Newton.
Newton.
At a book fair, you can actually handle these things.
Or the Nuremberg Chronicle. One of our colleagues had one of those in Toronto one year, which is the last history of the world that did not mention the New World. So you can blow your mind at a book fair.
At the risk of repeating what I might have said before about book collecting, sometimes you don't think of yourself as a book collector, and you go around, look on your shelves, and you find you've got 10 books by the same author, or by the same illustrator, or with a certain kind of binding, and without realizing it, you've become a book collector. And it doesn't have to be an expensive process. People think book collecting, it's very for the very rich and famous. Not at all. You can start with whatever budget you like. Go to your local bookshop or book fair and see what appeals to you. Buy the things that you like. That's the important thing. We do not recommend buying books as an investment. I cannot state that too strongly enough. Some people will tell you that they are good investments. It might have turned out to be a good investment, but I don't think it's a good idea to buy a book as an investment because the market is it's not like the stock market where there are books, same things are being traded every day, buying and selling. Books, each book is unique. Think about it that way. Each used book, it's a unique piece.
But even in the stock market, things go out of favor.
Right? Yeah, yeah. Gosh, think back to the 1930s when John Goldsworthy, who wrote the Forsyte Saga, which became very popular in the 70s and 80s because of the television series.
He was a hot commodity.
He was a hot back in the 30s. Nowadays, you can buy signed limited editions of him for $100.
Yes.
They just go out of
Henry
favor.
Wadsworth Longfellow
You know
editions
about that, yeah.
were very popular in the 40s and into the early 50s. Nowadays, most people don't even remember him except as a name.
Yeah.
So, these things are in a sense a fashion. So the thing to do is to buy what you love.
Yeah.
And because you're going to live with them, you're going to enjoy them, so you might as well love them.
I'm reminded of the quote of Oscar Wilde, perhaps paraphrasing it, something along the lines of, "Fashion is what one wears oneself. What other people wear is out of fashion," or something like
or
that.
Or a fad, or something. Yes. Another question we do get asked occasionally, and I put this out there kind of hesitantly. People sometimes say, how do I know I can trust the dealer I'm talking to? Well, I have to say, if you've been following all of these videos, you're well armed to speak to a dealer and know that he is knowledgeable or she is knowledgeable. Because if they use the terms you're familiar with, if they can describe the material that they have to you well, they are knowledgeable.
Yeah. Just a good point. Again, at the risk of repeating what I might have said in earlier talks, that if you deal with if you buy books from a dealer who is a member of his or her national association, there are I think 18 or 20 throughout the world. In our case, in Canada, it's the ABAC, the Antiquarian Booksellers Association of Canada. In the U.S., it's ABAA, Antiquarian Booksellers Association of America.
In the U.K., it's just the ABA, Antiquarian Booksellers Association.
And it's ABAJ in Japan and Italy and France. If you buy a book or a map or a piece of ephemera, anything from these people, it's guaranteed to be as described. And if by any chance one of us makes a mistake, you can return the book for full refund if you want at any time. Well, I should at any time. I mean, you get the book and you see that it's missing an illustration. You write back and you say, "Look, I just realized it's missing an illustration. If we made a mistake, and
we will take it back.
Please just send it back to us. We'll pay the postage if we made a mistake." But the important thing is though to deal with reputable dealers, so that if there's any problem, you can be sure that it will be taken care of.
Yeah. So if somebody does not know how to describe a book, how do I put this?
They misdescribe it accidentally.
Yeah.
Because they don't know any better. And it happens. That sounds very elitist, but sometimes people use the wrong term. They'll say leaf instead of page, or uncut and unopened, just what we were talking about earlier. That can happen, but it generally doesn't affect the physical book.
And I would say that the vast majority of booksellers are good, honest,
even if they're not members of a national association.
Even if they are not,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't. They don't have to be.
Right.
But with an association dealer, you are guaranteed.
You have a guarantee.
Yeah.
So get to know your dealer. Once you start to deal with him or her, you will become familiar with their knowledge base, with their specialties, you'll build a relationship.
Sure.
And you'll probably build a relationship with several book dealers.
Sure. A good thing, I saw a quote the other day, a rather rude quote, but I won't mention it. But essentially that if you're buying books from book dealer and he or she knows that you like books by this illustrator or that author, the chances are that the dealer might come to you, a book comes in and the person thinks, so-and-so would like this book. And you might get first crack at it. Whereas if they just put it on the shelf, somebody else might come along and think, oh, that's a nice book, and buy it. But if the dealer knows that you collect by a certain books by a certain author or illustrator or binder, the chances are he or she might approach you first. So you'll get first pick. So keep that in mind.
Anyway, generally speaking, enjoy collecting, enjoy your books, and just have fun.
Yeah, I said before, again, at the the risk of repeating myself, you're probably going to be having these books on your shelves for a long time, so you'd better like them.
Anyway,
okay.
Thank you for watching all of our videos. We hope you've learned something. And if we've missed some question that to you is absolutely critical, write it into the comments section and we'll see what we can do about answering it.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.